Afternoon, everyone. It is July 1st, or as my watch says, June 31st, even though there's no such thing. I'll have to switch that. But welcome to episode 7 of the Racing is Life podcast. In today's episode, I'll just be talking a bunch about some silly season news because in the last few weeks since I've done this podcast, we have a handful of silly season news that we'll just have to go over, and some of it is just as brand new as yesterday or the day before. So, with that in mind, before I get started, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and please share it however you wish. I would really appreciate that. So, with that in mind, let's get started. Alright, the oldest batch of news we have as far as 2021 NASCAR silly season news is as of June 25th, about a week ago, Roush-Fenway Racing has confirmed to various people that Brad Keselowski is going to be coming over there in 2022 in a part owner role. So this seems to be another step along those lines of, it's not officially confirmed because it hasn't been announced through Penske and whatnot, but if Roush-Fenway is going around saying, hey, this is a done deal, I wouldn't be surprised. Just the way it has seemed lately with Brad Keselowski and Penske Racing, I think they both want something new, and I think Brad Keselowski, who is in his mid to upper 30s, is thinking, how much longer am I going to race? And I have to set myself up if I want to continue in the sport. For however long he races, he wants to think about what his next step is after competitive driving. And for Jack Roush and even John Henry, the Fenway part of Roush-Fenway Racing. Prior to doing this episode, I was looking at this and the various ages of some of the top owners in NASCAR's top series, and I think sooner rather than later, you're going to start seeing some of these owners starting to come up with a, maybe not saying they're leaving now, but starting to lay the groundwork for a potential successor once they decide to retire. So Jack Roush seems to be thinking that way. He's not retiring, but is he possibly setting himself up for, if in the event he does get Brad Keselowski, are we going to, let's just say it's 3 to 4 years, Roush is going to show Brad Keselowski the ropes, and then say 3 or 4 years down the road, he's like, yeah, I'm done. Say this is Brad's team. So, and Roush is not the only one, because the other big piece of news we have is that Jeff Gordon is leaving the Fox Sports booth at the end of the season. So now that we're on the NBC schedule, Jeff Gordon is done as a TV announcer. And he is going to be, as of January 1, 2022, he is going to take the vice chairman role at Hendrick Motorsports. And being that he is the vice chairman, the only person he has to report to is the boss himself, Rick Hendrick. So the Jeff Gordon news came out just slightly after the whole Brad Keselowski thing, or some of the things meshed up timeline-wise, but Jeff Gordon, who actually is a part owner of within the Hendrick organization. Once Jimmy Johnson started racing in full time in 2002, Jeff Gordon was a part owner of that team. So under the radar, so to speak, and according to his one transcript I was reading, Jeff Gordon has been in an ownership or / leadership role since 1999, and like I said, he's been was part owner of Jimmy Johnson's car since 2002. So my thoughts on this are, this is without a doubt confirmed compared to the Brad Keselowski to Roush-Fenway. So this has, who knows how long this talk has been going on. I mean, it could have reached back to like into the 2000s, like I said, with Jeff Gordon being a part owner. But Rick Hendrick is one of the younger owners out of the top owners. He is on the younger side. He's in his early 70s, which is by no means young. But when you're talking about guys like Roger Penske, Jack Roush, he is one of the younger ones. So while he is still one of the younger owners, he seems to be, we don't know how long this timeline is going to be, but I think he is already thinking of the mindset of, hey, I want to start putting people in place for when I decide to retire. So with Jeff Gordon being the vice chairman, that definitely makes you believe that whenever Rick Hendrick does decide to retire, he's going to hand over the keys to Jeff Gordon. So looking at the transcript, like I said, Gordon has had an upper management type role, or has been looking into it since late 90s, early 2000s. So with all that in mind, I know there was maybe some people doing backflips or, just, jumping for joy or something, because from what I gather, Jeff Gordon as an announcer is a mixed bag. And being that I work 4 to midnight typically on the weekends, and the races don't start typically until I'm getting to work for the most part, I wasn't really able to ever listen to Jeff Gordon as an announcer. So I'm not going to say anything, but there seems to be that I would say there might be maybe more joy that he is leaving the announcer's booth rather than staying on there. But I'm not going to say anything with that, but I do think this is a smart move for Gordon and Rick Hendrick, just due to the fact Jeff Gordon is still such a popular name in NASCAR. And, he still has a lot of power as far as getting, recognition for NASCAR, Hendrick Motorsports. So I think this is really going to help Hendrick last and, continue to thrive for decades to come. And right now it seems to be a great time to be getting in there because they seem to be going back on the upswing as far as performance. Kyle Larson and Alex Bowman, 2 of the latest winners in, the Cup Series. Larson coming a turn away from winning 4 straight races in a row, and, Bowman taking that win. But like I said, prior to that, it was the Kyle Larson show. Chase Elliott, still having a decent year, not as good as some of his teammates. And William Byron has been putting together a solid season. So whenever the move is made for Jeff Gordon to take over, it seems like he's going to have a solid program with him. And if everybody keeps up to what their performance is doing, Jeff Gordon can be the owner of a team that was very similar to some of the peaks when he was there. when it was him, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr., Casey Kane. Just the name one off the top of my head, but I think this one's going to be a really exciting move. As a former and still fan of Jeff Gordon, I really look forward to this and see how it will play out over the next handful of years. So let's see what I have in order I want to talk about these. Okay, so number 3 topic for silly season. And this one came out of left field. I'm not completely surprised, but it still seemed to come out of nowhere. Though after the news that this team did not have a charter for next season, while it is a surprise, I figured they would have to do something. I am talking about Trackhouse Racing buying Chip Ganassi Racing's NASCAR operation. Now, Chip Ganassi's racing team is very diverse. As I've said, he has a NASCAR team, IndyCar team, and sports car racing, to name a few. So, Trackhouse is not buying the IndyCar, the sports car. He is just buying, him and Pitbull are just buying the NASCAR operations. And the details of this are, they get the 2 charters, they get practically everything that Ganassi has. So that means Trackhouse is going to be running 2 teams next year. I will get on the driver talk in a little bit here, but for a new team that is, I wouldn't say overachieving, but they're doing very well here, and I think are surprising a few people. I think the consensus at the beginning of the season was this team would probably be in the mid-20s as far as point standings go. And as I'm talking to you about this on July 1st, 2021, Daniel Suarez is one of the guys just outside of the playoff hunt. He's 40, 50-some points out, so he still needs a little bit of help. But even say if he does not get into the playoffs and finishes inside the top 20, I will call that a success for a brand new team. And now for this team come 2022, they have charters, which you need to compete in every race next year. So for this being a brand new team this year, I think it's great for the sport because you have it seems like recently, like when we have newer teams come into the Cup Series, I wouldn't say struggle, but they're not like Hendrick or Stewart-Haas, Penske. They're not a top team. Well, with Trackhouse, like I said, this season is very impressive for them. So they seem to be going up, and this will help put them more on more solid footing for years to come, because had they not done this, who knows if they would be able to get a charter. And as impressive as that team has been doing this year, why take the risk of potentially not having a charter, and depending on how qualifying or something goes, you can easily be on the uphill trend, and then if without a charter, you can completely go down. So this is definitely, as far as Trackhouse goes, an A+ move. I would say that because of the stability factor it gives them. And as far as Chip Ganassi, I always equate Chip Ganassi to IndyCar. So this move doesn't surprise me, and I don't know all the financial details, like how much Justin Marks and Trackhouse paid Chip Ganassi, but there are some inklings, like they paid a pretty penny for Chip Ganassi's operation. So Chip Ganassi might have got more than he was expecting to, so he's like, yep, I'll sell it to him. Wasn't planning on it, but I'll sell it. So And I think this will help Ganassi become more of a force outside of NASCAR. Obviously, I think this will help improve his IndyCar operation and his other operations I don't pay as much attention to. But I think he'll start coming up. His team will be coming up on the upswing more for IndyCar. So I think this was a good move for both Trackhouse and Ganassi. So now, as I've stated before, they have 2 charters, which means they're going to run 2 cars next year. Daniel Suarez is already confirmed for one of the cars next year, so that's a done deal. Now, Ganassi has 2 drivers right now, Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain. Kurt Busch, his deal expires at the end of 2021. So he's a free agent, and Chastain still has a couple more years on his deal. So the question is, what happens to those guys now? It seems that, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, Kurt Busch does have a couple of moves. I think there was some talk about him talking to Trackhouse before, and this was prior to this bombshell of an announcement yesterday. But 2311 has been in talks with him as well. So everyone's, from what I've been gathering, everyone kind of favors Kurt Busch over Ross Chastain for this second seat, which makes sense. Now with Trackhouse, it seems to be on par now with a move to 2311 racing. Because prior to this, prior to Trackhouse purchasing Chip Ganassi, if you're going to look, if Kurt Busch's only 2 options are 2311 or Trackhouse prior to buying Chip Ganassi, I would say go to 2311. Toyota doesn't field as many cars, and 2311 is affiliated with Joe Gibbs Racing. So that's longer term seems to be a better move. And if Trackhouse 2019 pre June 30th is, hey, they may not have a charter. Yeah, if they want to start a second team, great. But if they don't have charters, why would somebody like Kurt Busch go there? But now that they have bought Ganassi, Trackhouse has been outperforming 2311 and Bubba Wallace most weeks. So now that they seem to be on equal footing, I don't know where Kurt Busch is going to go. So I think if you had to pick between him and Chastain, it would make sense for still having a relatively younger driver like Daniel Suarez to help learn off of Busch. But then again, who knows what's going to happen with 2311? How good are they going to get into the future? So I call it a coin flip. I think it could go one way or the other with Kurt Busch going to either 2311 or staying with Chip Ganassi a la Trackhouse. But with that in mind, Ross Chastain has had some impressive finishes lately, and his stock is going up as of late. If this was happening like a month ago, I don't think we're having this discussion, but I think Ross Chastain deserves a shot. He's very similar in age to Suarez, so there's not that veteran versus younger guy dynamic. Him and I think the competitiveness, there'd be more of a competitiveness between him and Suarez to try and become like the top driver of that team. So, but either one of these guys, whether it be Kurt Busch or Ross Chastain, I think deserve that second ride. The question is, who is it going to be? And then if one of them is announced as that second driver, what happens to the second driver that just misses out? So I think Kurt Busch, if he doesn't take this second ride with Trackhouse, I think he will definitely have some options for himself. Ross Chastain, I'm not as sure about. I think he deserves at least a ride on par with Chip Ganassi. Hopefully he continues this success that he is running with. So we'll just have to wait and see. We're still about halfway through the season, just a little bit over. So we'll see where that goes. So that is silly season news piece 3. So in this one, the last one was just announced, and I just saw it today. And the final piece is our continuing talk about Dale Jr. and JR Motorsports going up to the Cup Series. And it was, Jr. stated today that he heard Colleague Racing spent $10 million apiece on each of their 2 charters they bought. So $20 million, if that holds true. And Jr. says that is the only roadblock to him moving up. And to continue with that, he says, I think that's out of my range. I'm quoting Dale Jr. Yeah, that's out of my range. I'll tell you that. Jr. said on the Dale Jr. download. So, like I said, I was on the fence about this prior with, Dale Jr. and JR Motorsports moving up the Cup. And while you never say never, I think, I don't think it's going to happen. Just, like he said, if he's saying, these charters are out, the price is out of line, I can see that swaying some people away. And I don't think he wants to ruin the excellent Xfinity program he has. So that's that for Dale Jr. Like I said, not really surprised when he said that, as when we were talking about this before, I thought maybe his team had the hardest path of getting a charter. So now that Colleague, going back, a handful of episodes ago when I was talking about this, Colleague got charters, which I wasn't really surprised with. I figured they were the team in the best situation to get charters. Not what I figured, the exact situation I figured they were and how they would get the charters did not happen, but they still got charters, so I'm at least half right on that. And we're still waiting and seeing on 2311 Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan's team. So that is that for the episode. Really short, sweet, to the point, and hopefully without any issues. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Also throw some support to the guys down below, talking about Bavinok Gaming. It's a streaming channel of a coworker of mine, so please give him some looks on his channel as well. He is working on getting his subscriber count up, so please throw his support. Please throw him some support. So with that in mind, that's it for today's episode. And I think I'm going to be doing this every other week. This seemed to work out well with gathering some news over a 2-week period. So, being that I am starting another project on this YouTube channel, I think every 2 weeks is going to work. So, as of right now, July 15th is going to be the next episode. So that's that. I'm going to be going to enjoy this nice weather we have outside, which is raining. So, supposed to be going to the Pirate game tonight, but we'll see if that happens or not. So, catch you guys later.